Okay, so application delivery controllers. Now we have the BIG-IP series, as you can see here, and we have the Viprion here. So Viprion, if you will see, Viprion's is 4800 chassis and the blade model. So these are the blades. If you will see, these are the blades. And if we talk about 4800 or 4480, so the second digit in the model name in the Viprion suggests number of blades it can support. So if it is a 4800 series, it supports 8 blades. If it is a 4480, it supports 4 blades, like that. Okay, so the blades can be removed and can be again installed onto the Viprion boxes. So it's provide greater flexibility and expandability environment in your network. So generally, if you will see in the data center, so the Viprion models you will see generally is applied onto the ISP side. That's where the high traffic comes into the data center. So if your load balancer is ISP facing load balancer, then you will see the Viprion model there. And normal internally, you will see the BIG models or the virtual edition also. So most of the environment now are moving to the virtual editions. Okay. Everything good?
So here flexibility comes because there is a kind of cloud. From cloud you can take it. So there is kind of flexibility.
Sorry, can you speak a little bit louder?
Yeah. So when it comes about flexibility, that means like you're talking about cloud perspective or like some kind of chassis you can move and remove some kind of.
Yeah. We have not discussed regarding the cloud. So if we will see, flexibility means it is quite flexible to your environment. You can improve its capability. Okay, you can expand it, right, according to the requirement. So they are quite flexible to your network, the Viprion model. Okay, so their capabilities there can be increased by putting the blades.
And another thing, what is the major factor like when we take IP and all that? So what is the major factor we see? This should be the this should be the main thing that we need now. Like something kind of number of requests processing or something like that.
Sorry, I'm not getting.
So what I mean, like, what is the major factor we see before taking any kind of BIG-IP load balancer device? So what is the major factor? Like, suppose I take a system, I say like I should have a 4 GB of RAM or Xeon processor or something like that. So what should the factor that I should look on a load balancer F5 before taking this? This is my requirement, or this is the thing I should take it. Can you tell me that factor? Like, what is that factor?
Mainly the factor is your transaction per second. How many transactions per second are you looking for? Okay, how many it can support. Second factor is the connection limit. How many layer 4 or layer 7 connection it supports. You can get it through this sheet. Okay, hardware offload SSL TLS means how much load are you expecting and how much load it can take. You can get it through the sheet. Okay. So majorly you look for the transaction per second for the SSL, because generally most of the time you will see the SSL applications being deployed, and you can also take into account the request per second it can support. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
These are the major things that decide. Okay, so let's move on to the next slide. Rajesh, anything from your side?
No, all good so far. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
So we have the VADCs, which are the virtual ADCs are present for each modules. Then we also have the BIG-IP. Now, a little bit idea regarding the BIG-IP. Now, what the BIG-IP is? BIG-IP is the centralized manager of your BIG-IP device. So, BIG-IP can be used to centrally manage your BIG-IP boxes or the F5 ADCs. So, from the single point of contact, so you can manage them all. You can renew their operating system, right? Upgrade their operating system, apply the hot fix to all of them at once. So, from a single place, you can manage it. Okay, so that is a centralized controller the F5 has provided. Earlier it was enterprise manager. Okay, now it is known as BIG-IP. Okay,
Okay, there is a part, there is a two scenario I'm seeing, like BIG-IP virtual edition and BIG-IP virtual edition.
yes. So they come in real hardware devices also and virtual edition also.
Okay, so BIG-IP is part of virtual edition. So
No,
virtually,
BIG-IP, yeah, BIG-IP. Generally, you can apply it on any BIG-IP hardware box also.
okay,
Okay, and we have the virtual edition of it as well.
okay. So BIG-IP virtual edition, like suppose I have a load balancer with me, the console that I get is kind of related to BIG-IP virtual edition, so it's a separate hardware part.
No, no. So what you will do is regarding the virtual editions. If you have worked on the VMware, right? For example, so what you can do is you can virtualize any device and put down on a single hardware box. You can have the big IP on it. You can have the firewall on it. You can have the router on it. Okay, so in this way, they provide you the image already. The image is present on the F5 side. You can get the license, okay, and you can deploy the virtual edition on any hardware. Okay, for example, a server. Okay, virtualized server.
Correct.
I
Is
hope
it
it,
mandatory?
yeah.
Sorry. Is it mandatory that we need to buy the big IP management as well with the virtual edition?
No, it is not mandatory that you need to buy the big IP.
So it kind of NMS, right, for the F5 big IP management.
Yeah, that is upon you. It is like if you have lots of, for example, let's say in a data center there are around 500 to 600 big IP devices. Then you would prefer to get the big IP in place.
Big IP management in place. Okay.
Yeah, big IP or big IP management. So that is how it will work. But if you have 10 to 15 big IP, then definitely it doesn't need to get the big IP. Then virtual edition that we are discussing, it is regarding you can virtualize them. They have the images you can already, so you can apply them or you can install them onto your network instead of the hardware boxes.
Big IP like a server.
Big IP like a centralized manager. You from a single you can manage all the big IP devices, all the boxes.
Virtualized person.
Hmm?
Like virtualized person.
Yeah, you can say. Okay, everything good? Okay, so let's move on to the. Let's skip it because this is regarding the F5 instructor-led training. So what the F5 actually provide the F5 its own official courses. These are the courses they provide. They have a separate course for the. They have the separate course for the Viprion. You will see for the IFs for the developers, for the IFs and developing the IFs. So they have completely different course for them. Okay, then they have the LTM, GTM, Enterprise Manager, which is the big IQ, then APM, ESM. These the other different courses. They don't touch each other. And if we see onto the next slide how their path is, their certificate path. So first of all, there is a 101 exam, which is the ADF, that is Application Delivery Fundamentals. So passing this exam will not give you anything. Okay, not a single certificate, but you will be eligible to give the Big IP Administrator exam, which is 201. So it is known as Big IP Administrator or the TMOS Administrator. Okay, so after clearing the Big IP 101 and 201, you will be eligible to go for the specialist, which is known as the CTS. CTS exams. Okay, Certified Technology Specialist, LTM, GPM, ASM, APM. Okay, for example, for the LTM, we have 301A and 301B, which is the implementing and deployment of the local traffic manager, and 301B is the troubleshooting. Okay, and then we have the GTM, which is 302 and other exams. Okay, and if you will see, LTM as comparison to GTM is quite wide comparison if we compare them regarding their scope. Okay, its course is quite wide as comparison to the GTM. Okay, then let's move to the. Is it clear for now the exams that you need to do if you want to get certified?
Yeah.
So at end of this course, I believe we can at least fulfill the 301A and 301B exam. Yeah, end of this course.
Yes, but you would need to also study extra also something. For example, you need to much go deeper. And 201 for sure you can give. For 301B, you have to do it. You have to get more hands on. And 301A, I think you will be good to go. 301B, because it is a totally troubleshooting exam, that depends upon you how much time you are going to put on practicing. Okay. So that was the introduction. Now let's move to our first topic, full proxy architecture. We have already discussed it, but anyway, let's do it again. So by default, the BIG-IP is the default deny device. If you know about the firewall, like any traffic goes to the firewall, it will deny it. Similar way it goes with the F5 devices. They are the default deny device. They reject or drop all the traffic which hits on it. Okay. So what we need to do is we need to configure the listener on the BIG-IP device, which are known as VIP or the virtual IPs. Okay, or virtual servers. Okay, so those are the listener. So if you want to make the BIG-IP listen for any type of traffic, you have to configure the VIP. Right. So let's go to the next point. Okay. Configure to listen for the certain type of traffic, then the connection is proxy to the server. Okay. So certain type of traffic means when you will enable it. So what you will give a combination of. You will give a combination. VIP means it is generally a combination of IP and port number. So any traffic which will hit for that particular IP as the destination and the destination port, it will listen for it. We will cover it later when we will configure the box. Okay, so we have the connection is called proxy, two different completely independent connection. Okay, so what we can do is we can view and modify the traffic behavior, the request coming in, the response going out. We have already discussed it. Okay, and it also support the dual stack, means on one side it can be IPv4 and another side it can be IPv6. That is because of the full proxy architecture model, as those connections are completely independent to each other. Then we can do the compression and the decompression. So compression and decompression is also like SSL offloading is also like a CPU intensive task. So we offload it to the BIG-IP, and BIG-IP has a really good hardware. Some of it support hardware-based compression, as we have seen. So definitely it is going to save the resources on your servers. Okay. Then we have the encryption and SSL offloading. We have already discussed. We can keep the client side connection as encrypted because that will be exposed to the public side, and onto the private network we can keep that is encrypted because they are not prone to attacks. Okay, so in this way your servers don't have to do the encryption and decryption or SSL termination. Okay, then we can also modify the application data. So we can do that. We can modify whatever strings are going into the application headers, means main payload actually we can modify. We can replace it with whatever we want. Okay. So that is the big IP full proxy architecture. I don't think we need to spend more time on it. Let's move to the other slides. Okay. So let's move to this one. So we have traffic management operating system over which we can provision means we can run any module. Okay, so it is not like you have a big IP box, then only LTM is going to run on it or JTM is going to run on it. Okay, you can run any modules that you want. Okay, and you can also run single module on a multiple modules on a single hardware box. Okay, you can run LTM and GTM on the same hardware box, big IP box. Okay. Then we have this is regarding the modules. We support the full proxy architectures. Everyone supports it. We have the IRUs to configure them, or you can say to modify the application graphics or to play with them. Then we have the high performance hardware. Means we have the separate dedicated hardware uh, for SSL and the compression, as we have discussed. Then big IP administration. Administration means how you can manage the big IP device, right? To make it ready for the application traffic. To make it ready for the application traffic, configuring it to accept to process the application traffic. So one way is IFs, which we will study later. One is the GUI. Now, what the GUI is? It is taking the graphical user interface, right? So I think you all will be familiar with the GUI terminology, right? Brijesh and Kamaksha?
So anyway, like I said, like I am not saying GUI.
Not the big IP GUI, but other device. I think you would have worked on the GUI of the devices.
No, not because I have never worked on load balancing.
Okay, so okay, fine. We will go to the GUI of the big IP, and then we have the CLI, right? From the CLI, we have the two option. We have the two option. If you will see the CLI of the big IP, okay, CLI. What you can do is we have the TMash traffic management shell. It is the proprietary shell of the big IP on which F5 syntax commands run. Okay, TMash. Like Cisco has their own set of syntax commands. Similar way for configuring the application traffic, we can do it via CLI as well. Then we have their own set of syntax commands. Then we have the bash, Linux bash. Okay, so all the Linux commands will be supported onto the CLI of the PIP box for the virtual editions. Okay, all the Linux command moving into the directory, getting the files, all of them is supported. Then we have one more shell which is known as the IMISH. So IMISH shell is actually the routing shell. So whenever we will enable the routing, you can run every Cisco command, every routing protocol command in the IMISH shell. Okay. So, but mainly, if you will see, we will work on this in course. We will work on majorly on the TMash. Okay. So we will work on GUI plus CLI. Okay. Both. Okay. So majority of it we will working on the GUI as well. Majority of this goes with the GUI, and I will show you how you can work on CLI. CLI is also very easy on the big IP, so definitely it will not be a problem. Okay, everything good? Let's move to the other slide. Any questions, guys? IFs we will study it in last. So IFs, what the IFs do is when you will study about the logical objects or traffic processing object that we create, for example, web pools profiles, right? We have to do it separately, right, one by one, and get them attached with each other for traffic processing. Okay, so from the IFs, what we can do is we can at one place we can create them all according to the application traffic. Okay, so we will go through them. It is also really easy to configure the application traffic through the IFs. Okay, and also when we will study about it, we will see we can create, if you are a developer and you know about the programming, you can create your own IFs templates. Okay, so everything good, Brijesh and Kamaksha?
Yeah.
So yeah,
Okay, so this is how the BIG-IP box look like. Okay, so okay, so number one is the management port. So management port means it is dedicatedly used for taking the management access of your BIG-IP device. Okay, so default IP address of the, you will see on other slides. So there is a default management IP of the BIG-IP, which is 192.168.1.245/24. Okay, for the Viprion, we have management IP address of 1.246. Okay, so if I put any device into the same network with the management, take a cable, put down a PC, give it a IP address of the same subnet, you will be able to take the access of the BIG-IP box. Okay, so it only processes the management traffic, it does not process the application traffic. Okay, so we have the management port, and other ports that we have is, if you will see 8-number port, okay, here you will see we have the TMM ports, traffic management microkernel ports. So these ports, for example, management port can only process the management traffic. Okay, but the TMM port can process both type of traffic, application as well as management. Means if I configure a IP onto the management port, so I can also take the access of the BIG-IP box using those IPs. Okay, and they comes in all flavors: Ethernet, SFPs, okay, gigabyte, like that, fiber ports, if you will say. And the another one that we have is the USB ports. Okay, so USB port, see, we will have here second number, USB ports. So what you can do is you can also install the hot fixes using the USB ports, take the backups and all that. So nowadays every network device comes with the USB ports. Okay, and then we have the console port. Okay, console port you already know, to take the access using the rollover cable. You can take the access of the using the console port. So a dedicated PC will be used, which will be connected to the console port, and you can take the access of the BIG-IP device. Okay, then we have the failover port. Failover port you can see on 4 number. So what it is used, it is connected to another BIG-IP device for the high availability purpose. Using that port means a dedicated interface of another BIG-IP device, which will be the failover interface, and we will have a failover cable, a dedicated cable. Okay, so through it, what they will do is they will send the heartbeat messages to see if the other device is up or not. Okay, for example, let's say they will keep on checking. For example, standby device. Let's say this is the standby. It will keep on checking if the active device is up or not. As soon as the active device for any reason goes down, so automatically the standby will be promote itself to the active and start taking all the traffic to it. Okay, for the high availability purpose. Then we have the indicator LEDs on number 5, which tell you regarding the status, alarm, and all that. Okay, we have the 6 and 7 are the LCD display and LCD control buttons. So here, so LCD display and LCD control buttons can also be used to do the uh, basic task of the big IP device. Okay, for example, setting of the management interface and all that. So we can do it using that LCD display and LCD button as well. Okay, then finally we have the serial number of the big IP device. Okay, here. Okay, so this is regarding the hardware, how the hardware look like, what the things are. Okay, everything clear?
So what about this USB port?
USB port can be used to push the hot fixes, okay, to install the operating system, okay, to take the backup. So every networking device nowadays comes with the USB ports, and they have the same work. Okay.
So hotfix means like the hardware which has been used on the desktops
Your
or like
voice,
servers.
your voice is cutting. Can you please repeat?
Yeah, like hotfix means like you are saying some kind of hardware like for the some kind of software will be installed on the server to support this hardware.
Yeah, hot fixes means, for example, let's say there is a software going on in market 12.1.2, let's say, going on in market. Now the thing is there is a vulnerability report, okay, or any bug is reported. So what the F5 will do, F5 will soon launch a hot fix for that, for remediating that vulnerability or remediating that particular bug. So what you can do is you can get the software onto your USB drive, and you can install that hotfix onto the BIG-IP.
Okay, so you mean like from here we have to download it to USB drive, and from that USB drive we have to connect to server side, or there can be direct connection between this F5 to server.
No. There is no server in picture. That is regarding the OS of the BIG-IP, operating system of the BIG-IP. Let's say there are some bugs in its operating system, or there are some vulnerabilities. So what the F5, which is the company, they will give you a hotfix for it. Okay, it's to remediate that vulnerability or the bug. So actually they do it often, right?
Okay.
Yeah. It is like upgrading the operating system.
Right. So is this
Okay.
can be done online or offline?
You can do it offline. Not a problem.
Okay.
That is actually for the offline purpose. You can download that hotfix software onto your pen drive, okay, and get it installed in this one, like you do with your PC,
Okay.
right? Like you do. Simple. Rajesh, any question?
No, thank you.
Okay, very good.
Is there any other ports in backside? Other ports.
That is the main thing. Backside, you will see the fan and all that.
Which port we are using for when
What?
which is connected to an ADM device.
These TMM ports, application ports, TMM ports. These ports are used for handling all the network traffic or application traffic.
Servers is application.
Servers, firewalls, any other device like that.
And how many ports?
That depends on the model. For example, in this one, there are around 10, 12. Sorry. Okay.